The federal budget has just been released, and Anthony Albanese and Jim Chalmers have gone on the sales pitch. They've tried to sell it as a deflationary budget that supported equity. I've previously talked about the budget and why the sales pitch is misleading. I've highlighted that the budget is in fact inflationary and that the tax changes are inequitable because they involve seizing assets from an unpopular minority that was relatively easy to pillory, that is, higher income owners. The budget itself was also an example of massive government spending, in particular of other people's money, and demonizing people when they dared to speak up, all in service of getting Anthony Albanese re-elected. However, here, I want to focus specifically on what voters seem to think about the budget, and whether voters are convinced by the sales pitch. And Labour went into this budget with one objective: an election win. Let's be clear, Labour is doing this spending to get re-elected, or at least to attempt to get re-elected. And here, Labour's budget might in fact have succeeded, because while Labour's two-party preferred vote appears to be trending downwards, it still is putting them in an election-winning position. They have an election-winning lead, according to most polls. So, after the budget, most polls put the ALP leading on a two-party preferred basis, or at least tied. So for example, Freshwater has it at 50-50. The Essential poll put the LNP in a bit of a lead, 47 to 46. However, they also have undecided voters as a category. Resolve puts the voting at 50-50. Roy Morgan 50.5 to 49.5 in Labour's favour. Newspoll still has Labour at 52-48, with a rather decisive election-winning lead if that were to occur, and YouGov is again at about 50-50. So Labour, it appears, is slightly edging out the coalition. Now also to be clear, Labour's polling has been trending downwards. However, it has still been above that of the Liberal Party. If that negative trend were to continue, then clearly Labour would lose. However, it is a big assumption to assume that the negative trend will necessarily occur. A lot can change between now and the election. Now, compared to before the budget, there have only been marginal changes in the weeks before to the weeks after. And in particular, Newspoll still has Labour at about the same election-winning lead. The main change was the Roy Morgan poll, which saw Labour's two-party preferred vote go from 52 down to 50.5. And YouGov also saw a decrease from 52 to 50. However, for the most part, Labour still appeared to be ahead. One area that Labour is struggling with, however, is the primary vote. Because under Australia's preferential voting system, if your preferred party isn't elected, then your votes are distributed to your next best favourite. And that means that Labour can win on the back of Greens votes, or independents, or the like. Whereas the Liberal Party would ultimately potentially lose if Greens' preferences are going toward Labour. However, the Liberal Party has a much higher primary vote, suggesting a much larger number of people have it as its first preference. So in short, Labour appears to have achieved its objective, although not as decisively as it would have wanted. We can, however, dig into some more fine-grained and in-depth polls to get another idea about how voters have responded to the election. And in particular, we're looking at the AFR Freshwater Strategy poll. This one asks some specific questions about the budget, and it appears that voters aren't particularly convinced. So for example, when asked, what is the effective budget on household finances? Well, 46% of people said that there was going to be no difference, 23% said they were worse off, and 24% said they were better off as a result of the budget. Hardly a decisive victory for Labour. If we're looking at the impact of the budget on interest rate increases, well, only 11% of people seem to think the budget would cause interest rate decreases, which rather dispels the idea that the budget is deflationary. Because if the budget were genuinely deflationary, then it would lead to interest rate decreases. It appears people don't think the budget is doing anything to get inflation under control. Now, in terms of responsibility for the budget surplus, well, it appears Labour gets some credit, being listed as the second most important. However, still a large number of people assign credit to export industries and increased tax paid and the strong economy. Labour is not getting complete credit for the budget being in surplus, which of course is absolutely correct. After all, bracket creep and higher tax take is clearly leading toward a budget surplus because the government is raking in more and more money. Now, if we look at some core areas where the Liberal Party appears to be doing better, Well, they appear to be far ahead of Labour on tax and government spending, leading 37 to 29, with 34% of people being undecided about the relative skills of the parties. In terms of managing the budget, well, the Liberal Party leads 39 to 29, a decisive victory over Labour. Labour is only beating, so to speak, the Liberal Party in relation to welfare and benefits and the like, i.e., for the people that want more government spending, the Labour Party is for them. But for the people who want to keep more of their hard-earned cash, well, it appears the coalition is for that group of people. In essence, it comes down to, are you the type of person that wants to take other people's assets, or are you the type of person that wants to succeed and wants to have opportunity? That's really what the divide appears to have become. So if we put all of this together, what we can see is that Labour's budget has achieved what it needed to for Labour. All quote-unquote experts think the budget is a train wreck. Experts think that the budget is inflationary, not deflationary, and there is little, if any, support for any of the government's big spending initiatives. Furthermore, if we're looking at the government's tax imperatives, well, the government is basically setting out to tax people ever more and more money. We can see this with the Stage 3 tax backflip, whereby the Labour Party increased taxes on a set of the population. And they decided they could do this because higher income earners are inherently unpopular with the broader electorate, because Labour paints them as simply wealthy, tall poppies that can be cut down. This is instead of encouraging people to go and work harder, seize every opportunity, and become a higher income earner themselves. Labour appears to be the party of simply stealing from people. Similarly with the superannuation tax grab, where Labour Party saw a pot of money and decided to increase taxes on that pot of money. They decided to try to pillory a group of higher income earners or higher savers and suggest that there's only a minority of people here, so who cares if we take their assets? The Labour Party, rather hypocritically, says that it tries to represent minorities, unless those minorities are inconvenient to the party. However, the Labour Party has been cynical in its rhetoric, and that cynical rhetoric appears to have convinced enough people to go along with it, and that it appears the Labour Party is likely to win at the next election, at least based on current polling. For the Liberal Party to have any chance of turning this around, what they need to do is they need to stand for being the party of opportunity and freedom and liberty. They need to stand for encouraging people to get ahead and do better and succeed and make more money for themselves. They need to create a clear contrast with the Labour Party. They need to show that the Labour Party wants to tear people down when they get successful. By contrast, the coalition, they would need to say, wants to lift everyone up so everyone can become successful. They need to create that contrast. And Peter Dutton and the Liberal Party have simply failed to do so at this point. But let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below.